Hey, what's going on? My name is Chris, or Christopher. This is kind of like my first video ever on this channel, and I kind of wanted to go through the process of me kind of thinking about designing and creating a web application. And so I'm kind of recording on these multiple different screens, so pardon me if I kind of look a little bit crazy just looking all everywhere. So I'll try and focus on the camera. But I kind of wanted to create this video and maybe a series of videos because I kind of wanted to record the kind of step-by-step process of designing a web application. Specifically, this one I'm working on involves a student tutor dashboard. So I work as writing tutor with Georgia State University. We have our own dashboard that we use to keep track of students and tutors and the times and who comes in. And so I was just thinking about like what would be kind of a more efficient or better way of implementing a better dashboard. And so just as a way, I like to do this with a lot of my presentations, is I like to just go in summary into different parts of the video that I kind of go through. And so this video is just solely focused on kind of the preliminary design. It's not really preliminary design. This is more of like a brainstorming kind of what the process of the questions and information that I'm kind of thinking about before I get into any kind of design or any kind of coding or anything like that. And so this is broken into different sections, such as defining the problem description, the summary, talking about the different clients this web application may have, talking about the specific web application requirements, and also talking about possible future designs, and also some questions that need answers as we kind of approach the end of this kind of brainstorming. And so when we talk about the problem description and summary, so I'm thinking that this dashboard is meant to be used as a place to monitor students and tutors during the working hours of the Learning Center at a university. So when I mean the Learning Center at the university, this is kind of just a place that covers many different subjects. It might be writing, it might be math, but students will come in. And when I mean dashboard, this is kind of maybe a menu or kind of a home screen that students are meant to be used. Students and tutors should be able to easily access this dashboard. And so this dashboard should allow students to log in and have tutors be able to accept students as they enter. So there should be some sort of manual login on both sides. Students need to log in somehow to keep track of which students come into the Learning Center, and tutors have to also log in to see which students match to which tutors. And so because the Learning Center may be busier and may have more students come in, we're kind of anticipating that the dashboard should have some kind of timer or some way that we can kind of keep track of the times with the tutors and the students. And so when we're talking about the next step, like the clients, I'm kind of thinking that the clients, the people that are going to access the information from this dashboard, or this dashboard that's going to be more helpful for, I'm thinking it's going to be for the tutors, because they need to be able to see who they helped and assisted during the tutoring hours. So they're probably going to be using this dashboard in many ways during the hours. But at the same time, the university themselves is also going to track the tutor hours and students who come in for particular help with the particular subjects. So there are two major clients that we're kind of focusing in on with this dashboard. And so the specific web application requirements that I'm kind of foreseeing at this point, and with these requirements, they might change when we go code or when we're kind of like working on the design. But I'm already foreseeing with this description and with the clients is that we need to have the dashboard have some way that the students need to be able to log in manually. So there should be a way that we can track the ID and the subject needed um, for the tutoring. And so we also have to anticipate that the tutors need to be able to accept or reject students as they enter. So this is a way that we can kind of keep track of the time for tutoring. And the last specific requirement that we have for this dashboard is it needs to track and notify time for tutoring. So how long is each tutoring session lasting? And it also has to be mindful of there is a specific maybe limit that we have for these different tutoring sessions. And so when we're talking about the next stages of the possible future design, and so I'm kind of already anticipating that there might be two different interfaces or two different ways that the dashboard is being used. One for students and one for tutors. And I say this because for the students, it should be just a very basic, simple interface, because I kind of say it for the third bullet point, we're simplifying the user experience. So you want to show only the options that are meant for the relevant party. And so when the student comes into the Learning Center or to this dashboard, they're only meant to maybe have like a few different options. They're not meant to see a lot of information that's given, because they're only technically meant to just sign in or sign out. Or maybe just give some basic information. That's the only thing that should be given to them. Whereas the other interface that this dashboard has should have a lot more information on it. Like we said before, there should be maybe some information for the tutors, maybe on subjects that the student needs help on, or maybe some more information about the student's classes. If that information is given to tutors, that might be helpful during the tutoring session. And overall, I think allowing this simplifying of the user experience can benefit both parties, just such as the students and the tutors. And so when we're talking about all this information that's coming into this dashboard and it's getting track of through this dashboard, we want to think about the database design depending on the student, tutors. I put hours, so we're kind of also anticipating, is it going to be SQL or no SQL? Thinking about how are we going to kind of figure out how we're keeping track of the information, what information is relevant in terms of this specific design or this specific dashboard, this specific web application. And we're also thinking about, we're connecting to some API or database. There's something that we have to connect into in the back end. So we're not implementing all the information into this dashboard. There's some sort of dynamic call that's being placed. So when some student's ID information is being given, we're also given back this sort of information about maybe the students' classes, student subjects, and things like that. And maybe at the same time, there also is another database in terms of the tutors, such as their expertise, their names. So maybe we're anticipating that there's also some other database or backend or API that we're kind of connecting to as well. So we have to anticipate that that's going to be a part of the design process as well. And so since we all have all of that information that we're kind of anticipating or thinking about, we're going to have some questions that kind of need additional answers, and we're kind of going to dig more into as we get to the next steps of this process. So we're also thinking a little bit about what information is stored with each student ID. And when I talk about information, I'm specifically referring to mainly, since we talked about this massive database that we're kind of accessing through this back end, does this database include information about the students' classes or the students' subjects that they're taking for the semester? Does it include even like their grades or age, or what information is kind of given through just a call with this student ID? The second question that we're kind of thinking about is, what is the recommended time for each tutoring session? Is each session meant to last? Is it something that's set to a specific amount? like 15 minutes or 20 minutes? Is it something that we can kind of change over time? So we're kind of thinking that maybe, is it something that's hard set as it approaches closer to the 15-minute mark? Should tutors get some kind of notification? Should it kind of time out? What is the kind of thing that we kind of want to approach in terms of calculating this specific time? And then also we're thinking about, is there a limit on the tutoring sessions? And that question lies more with the students that come in. Are they only allowed access to like 4 tutoring sessions a day? Is it only like 2 tutoring sessions? How can we kind of think about if there is a limit, like what would happen after the students reach the limit? Are they not able to access tutoring? What can we do in terms of pushing back on the dashboard as well to indicate that the student has reached that limit as well? And what does each tutoring session need to record or take note of? So we already understand that on the core requirement where we need to take note of the student ID, the subject, hours, but there might be some other kind of requirements that we're not considering. Maybe that the university, since they're the client, they might want to have more information on some specific category. So it's like, is there a way that we can kind of anticipate or dynamically allow additional information to be recorded through each session? And so yeah, so this was kind of just a breakdown of the kind of questions, the process of thinking of the brainstorming, preliminary design, I guess, before I kind of go into kind of creating the interface, creating the front end, or even thinking about creating or coding the back end of this kind of dashboard or web application. And so in the next couple of videos, I'll kind of break down and go through the next process or the next steps, which I think the next step will be the preliminary design, which will include the wireframes, the mock-ups, and additional information on like what like creating the baseline and architecture of this dashboard. And so if you want to know more, of course, if you could just hit the like button, or you can follow me on my Instagram, or give a like, comment, and just let me know if you want to have any more questions or like to know more. All right, thank you.